Hello guys, this is supposed to be my, sorry, it's just I have to do that. So, usually cause this is my first ever plush collection video right here. So I'm gonna start off with the Poppy Playtime series. So I only have a few plushies so far. Like one of them I really need to get, like maybe like my long legs and a Bunzo Bunny and PG Pumpkin thing. So why don't I start off with a plush collection before maybe I can do a full entire series of mine. So usually, let's get started. So usually, first off, we have our one and only, favorite character. Hold on one sec, I think I need to. Usually, our first ever character, usually my favorite character of one only time, Huggy Wuggy! Hi guys! Usually Huggy Wuggy is like a very decent figure, but sometimes it kind of lacks like some like stepping emotions, like the feet are kind of cross-eyed, and also it doesn't have the Velcros, and also it feels like the bulging eyes look a little off, but the bow tie is still really good. Also the fluff is a little off, and also from the eyes, but at least it still works because you can barely see the eyes a little bit. But usually this is going to be the first ever character going to be appearing in the Poppy Playtime Chapter 1. If I get another scary Huggy, maybe I can make an injured version of Huggy, make it very looking cool. So, and also for the AU of the plushie series of mine, so Huggy Wuggy is gonna actually talk in this one, like any other type of character do. But I know people would say, Huggy Wuggy doesn't talk in this one. Hey, it's my own opinion. It's supposed to be a little bit of a voice AU thing, if you haven't seen my voiceover videos. So he's gonna appear in this one. And also, the Smiling Huggy and Poppy are gonna appear in this one. Usually gonna appear in Chapter 1 if I can get all of the sets and everything right. So, usually, here's our Smiling Critters line. Here we have the one and only main leader, Dog Day. Dog Day says, fetch! Usually, Dog Day is really cool, but usually it has a really good wagging tail. And also some of the, there's a little bit of issues for this plush. Somehow the ears look a little floppy, like on some of the sides. And also some of the things look a little off. I mean, if you can see here, somehow the nose feels a little misprinted over here. And so as the charm that it has. But at least it's a decent one. I mean, it's just the soulless size of nothing. So, usually for it. And usually we have our one and only sleepy kitty, Catnap. Usually when I first saw Catnap, I was thinking that Catnap could be a main antagonist in Chapter 3, and I was completely right. And usually it has really good, and even this long tail that you can do is just like some very good quality movement. And also some of the, it felt a little off, like it's just a little misimprinted, and also the nose as well. But at least it's a very decent plush, if I believe it. And this one will take place during the recall, I think. And here we have our one and only bear level. Usually we have our one and only bear hugger, which I'm not calling Huggy a bear, because Huggy Wuggy's, Huggy. Usually the one and only bear hugger, Bobby Bear Hug. Usually Bobby Bear Hug right here, somehow it's a really cool and very decent one, usually for some of the type of the size, but I do really like the little button. It looks really cool, and also it has, it's a very cool interpretation that Bobby Bear Hug is like some sort of Valentine's Day character, sort of, but at least you can hug him nonetheless. And also usually we have our one and only, artsy, and usually from Arts and Crafts, Crafty Corn. Do you got any red? I mean, you have some. Usually Crafty Corn, this is one of my first ever plushes that I ever got, ever. Usually somehow it's a little decent, because, somehow the rabbit keeps falling off, and also the tail keeps, falling. But it's a really decent plush nonetheless. But it looks really cool because, it's my first ever plush in some of the series. Usually my first ever plush in, some of the plushes. And here we have our one and only, who wants to hop to the moon, Hoppy Hopscotch. Let's go jump to the moon! Usually Hoppy Hopscotch is a really cool, and I'm really not surprised that they did a really good job on her. And usually 4 because, you know, the ears are so insanely bendable. You can, like, pose it, like, from any type of direction. But I do really like putting on this one because it does very decent for her. And even some of the things that has, you know, Hoppy's very energetic. So usually we have our very own Big Smarts, and also the one who only remembers Bubba Fett. Hey, I remember you. Usually Bubba Fett, usually it's a little off. Usually somehow the tail is, you know, very long. I'm really surprised. Somehow it's really cool, decent, and also the charm fits really well. But the major issue is somehow it's the big old wings, because somehow it doesn't look like it's like folding on any other direction. It's just like those elephant ears are big, and also the trunk is, you know, it's just like that. It looks like some sort of look like teacup or spout, whatever the thing is. But usually with, you know, Dumbo's ears, and usually for it. But usually somehow with Boba Fett, somehow his ears are so big, somehow he's like flying. Like, I can fly! Usually like Dumbo. So usually that's supposed to be that. So usually we have our one and only, using his name, usually his one and only name. He's doughy, he's squishy, I keep messing up for it. But anyways, usually he's like, he's stitchy. I keep messing up the lines. You're like, you know, he's, usually you call him the only one, the main of the theme. Usually he's stretchy, he's funny, he's silly, he's funny. D-O-E-Y. Usually Doey, I'm not gonna lie, he's a really cool and a decent character. Some people didn't like him that very much, but now he's become a fairly popular character. See, I told you, judge a little early doesn't change anything. Usually it does very well for a very decent character, even for bigger ones like, you know, the Smiley Critters and Huggy. Usually somehow it does really well. Somehow it really good, has really cool puppeteering, and usually like you move your head or anything. But somehow I think I need to custom him a little bit. Maybe I can mend him like bendable head and bendable arms and everything, but maybe I can think of that for later. But usually somehow it's a little funny, because somehow when I first saw this thing, somehow it looks like, it's just somehow it's like Doey's like concerned dominance. It's just like, I am searching my dominance! It's just somehow it does really well. But usually somehow Doey's story feels a little sad, usually for some of it, but usually somehow the little bit of an issue is like Doey's hat. It feels like it's made of like some crafting felt. And also usually somehow it doesn't like, it's not even round properly. It feels like it's like an actual like hat or something like that instead of a round and doughy hat. So that's supposed to be, you know, him, I guess. You know, that's supposed to be him in a nutshell. I'll just put him right here. And usually this is supposed to be another Playtime character. Actually, it's not actually a Playtime character. Usually this one is supposed to be Stripey Lipey. Usually for this one, it's not an actual character. It's supposed to be a bootleg plush. Usually a bootleg plush that actually, that usually for some reason, somehow I actually got this plushie out of a carnival. Usually somehow it has really good stripes. And I was thinking about, you know, just trying to, like, usually the mini Huggies are going to appear in Chapter 4, but usually as, like, the bootleg Huggies, just like, bleh. Usually somehow it's, like, the eyes are completely bulging. It's just like their eyes are, like, bulging out. They're like, bleh. Somehow it's very weird. But usually it has Velcros. Usually for it right here. And so usually it has Velcros on. Usually it looks really cool. And also the decent plush, somehow it does work. Somehow it just stands like very big than the other Huggy. But somehow it's like a very, very weird and decent plush. Somehow the eyes look very misplaced. So yeah, that's supposed to be another bootleg Huggy in my little bit of my collection. So here's all my Poppy Playtime plushies so far. So usually the Smiling Huggy and Poppy the plush usually is gonna like appear usually sometime, like usually if I get Poppy or something like that. And also if I get Poppy and maybe the Smiling Huggy, maybe I'll do the Playtime plushie series if I could get them, however. So usually that's me for today. So like and subscribe, and I hope I'll see you guys later, and see you guys, bye!